Why, hello everyone, and welcome to Joleen's Happy Time Craftcast. I am so excited if you are joining us live today where you can see us on video, or if you are listening later on iTunes. Please know how much I appreciate you being with me for today's episode. And I'm excited too to introduce you to today's guest. She's amazing, and you've probably seen her either on Facebook or TikTok. And she is the kind of person who, when I see her come across my feed, she kind of lights it up. Like, she has an amazing energy, and I was instantly attracted to that energy. In fact, I think on TikTok, she might have been one of the very first people that I followed, and it was that energy that I was attracted to. And she has a skill set that I try not to be envious of. I really want to be able to do some of the things that she does, and I lack the confidence. And I have purchased so many books over the years on how to be a doodling, lettering kind of person, and they haven't stuck. And the reason they haven't stuck is I haven't practiced. So I believe that Christie is the person who is going to help get us over that hump. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Christie Daugherty. Christie Daugherty.
Christie Daugherty, you got it. Thanks for having me. I feel the same, and that was the sweetest intro. I really appreciate that.
I mean, every single word. You are so good at shining a light, if that makes sense.
You know, it's I hesitate to say this, but listen, it hasn't come super easy because I come from a really dark place of anxiety and depression. And so some people are like, what? I would never know that. But I have been deep in a dark place. And so my faith is what has pulled me out of that and just brought joy and light. And my goal is to encourage others in whatever it is they want to do, their creativity, to be a light to others, and it's just one of those things that I never dreamed that I'd even be doing what I'm doing. I teach hand lettering. That's where it all started. And it all started with, I was in a deep, dark depression, and I was looking on Pinterest, and I happened to see some pretty lettering in a Bible. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that. I'm going to try to do that. And so that's where it started.
That's a great, I mean, I love origin stories, and I think that one is wonderful. And thank you for sharing it. And I want to let you know too, that since we are live, we do have folks live in our comments. Lori is saying hello to us both. So hello, Lori. Thank you so much for being here. So have you always been a handwriting doodler person? Has it always been good?
I've always loved like a stationery, paper and pens and all the things, growing up. And I was jealous of my best friend because she could go to the store and just buy whatever she wanted. And I never had all the fancy things, but I was envious of that. But in 8th grade, I had a teacher in an art class, Mr. Dingler. And I remember he had those giant hands and he taught hand lettering, and he showed us how to do a dip pen and also how to use a chisel tip pen. So I learned calligraphy. Basically, calligraphy is old English style calligraphy in 8th grade. And I loved it, but there were rules, and I'm not a big rule person.
Right.
And so I liked it at the time, but now knowing I can do modern calligraphy or hand lettering, it's so much freedom because I can develop my own style. Everybody can do their own thing. And that's why when you said something about, I feel like I've struggled with that. I
do struggle. Christy, I have all the books, but I sit down to do it and I'm like, I still can't do it. Well, I don't practice.
You're right. It's right. You're right on.
I buy the books and I hope it just jumps into my head and hands, and that's not how it works.
Before that, even, it's letting go of the perfectionism. Letting go. It doesn't have to look like this, And why are you doing it? Is it because you're trying to write something that feels good? Whatever you're writing, for me makes a big difference. I like to write scriptures, and it just puts like good vibes and positive energy into me. I feel great as I'm doing it. If you're writing things that aren't positive, then you're putting negative in your body. You want to put that positive energy in there. But so thinking about what you're writing is important. Thinking about, don't make it perfect. It's not ever going to be. And it's the thing about what we're doing, crafting, it is hand done. It needs to look hand done. If you want it perfect, just get on the typewriter. I'm sorry, I've got a sweet.
That's okay.
My doggies are like, I want out of here.
I think it'd be really funny if my dog, who's just laying at my feet, his ears kind of like when he heard your dog. So for those of you listening and watching, who knows what's about to happen?
Oh my gosh.
We like to keep it real. No, I love it. You said something to me, and it's some language that I love so much. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about it for our listeners. But you use the language that I'm going to totally steal. You say mindfully playing or playing mindlessly, both
Yes.
both ways. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, what do you mean?
Well, with my students, I've been like really trying to tell them lately. I've said, when I teach you this, I want you to get lost in your artwork. I want you to forget about everything else going on in your life, and I want you to play and explore, put color on the paper. Don't judge yourself. Just enjoy the process of it and play mindlessly. Like, don't think, just play.
Right.
Get in the
Right.
zone. I remember there's times that some of my best, and I don't even remember what the artwork turned out to be in the end.
Sure.
Some of the best times was just me exploring and playing, and it feels so good. It's like, it's so therapeutic. I can't think of a better word.
Did you ever imagine in your life that you would be teaching people lettering and doodling? Has this been a
No,
surprise?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was a teacher. I taught school. And then a few years ago, 2018, I think, I started hearing about people teaching classes online, and I was going to teach sewing because I thought sewing is what I should teach because I was playing around with sewing. And then I had a business coach, and I kept hearing her say, give people what they want. And I was like, people started asking me about hand lettering, because what I would do is I had these little zipper bags, and they were patchwork and they were really cute, but I would hand letter and print out on fabric a scripture to put on the bag. And so I would sell those bags, and people were like, I want to know how to do that. How do you write like that?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I see it, I admire it so much. And tell me, do you have people like me who, okay, so if we put the perfectionism aside, we still kind of want to, learn the cool swoopies and the interesting ways to do it. So how do we learn it?
How do you learn? How do you start? You
Yeah.
start with the basic strokes. There's basic strokes. And really, if you use a brush pen, brush lettering is what I usually teach. And it's where you have thick and thin lines.
Yep.
And you want to have the right kind of tool for that. If you don't have the right tool, it's hard to make it look right. And so a brush pen is flexible, has a flexible tip. So when you press down, it's going to make a thick line. And when you lift up, it's going to make a thin line. And so as you're writing, you just get used to putting that pressure down for heavy strokes and lifting up for light strokes.
So I hear you talking maybe a little bit about rhythm, perhaps.
Sure, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
And a little, so that's what the words, like as you describe it, that's what my brain feels or sees. And then what is your reaction to people like me who we buy the books, but it doesn't just jump into our head? Like, I bought the books, Christie. Why?
Right.
Why is it not working?
Why can't I letter? Well, you have to make a decision that it's something that you want to set a time and that you want to do. Because it's like me with anything I purchase and I think, okay, I'm going to start, embroidery or whatever. You just got to decide, is this where I want to spend my time? And it's okay if it's not for you. And to me, lettering, you don't have to do brush lettering with a brush pen. Lettering is any kind of fun, just making marks on the paper. So give yourself a break and, just allow yourself to just have fun with it.
So mindlessly playing or playing mindlessly, either way, I love it. So in all of that, like, have you been a crafty person always, like me?
You know what? I have my mom. I grew up with a mom who was always, making the earrings and doing the painted t-shirts. And in the 80s, we had wood cutouts on the walls.
Oh yeah. Oh, my mom did that too. My mom is like the MacGyver of crafting, but continue. And then I'll tell you about that.
No, that's it. That is it. We had the ducks and we had all the things that are coming back around. I'm like, oh yeah, there's ducks again.
The ducks and the blue. Like, remember the blue, that like country blue and the
mauve and blue. I've got to let that go out. One second.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Mauve and blue. Well, and while Christie's making her quick errand there, I'll tell you about. So my mom was the absolute MacGyver of crafting. She once hot wired her sewing machine to sew yarn. Like, she somehow like got the bobbin out to the side, and she got everything like out. The mechanisms didn't go through the machine. Like she figured out how to do it because she was sewing my brother a werewolf costume for Halloween. And she wanted to have the loops of the yarn, but she didn't want to do it by hand. So I like had an amazing role model in that my mom did and tried everything from ceramics to cross stitch to crochet, and then now she's a dot painter, and she's an amazing quilter.
I listened to the podcast. That was really good. I need to go listen to that. I was like, that's so impressive. And my mom, I remember when I was growing up and she was sewing, she was an amazing seamstress. I am surprised at what I learned just by watching her all those years,
Right.
but not doing it. And so when I started sewing like 10 years ago or so, I was like, oh, I remember this because I watched her do it. It's pretty funny how you can remember those things.
So besides your own, do you have a favorite project or medium or technique? I mean, if you step aside from lettering and doodling, is there another handicraft that you are drawn to?
Yeah, I mean, it keeps me so busy. I don't make enough time for it. Right now, my dogs are my time. Like that's where I'm spending my time. I have a puppy. And so it's like,
oh, that'll do it. That'll do it.
But before that, I was trying to sit down and just do some acrylic painting. I found gouache. Gouache is like I love gouache. So I've been playing with that and making patterns so I can turn it into fabric for some curtains and wallpaper. So that's kind of, I enjoy doing that. And I got into the rhythm of doing that, but then I've kind of stopped because we had a puppy.
Right. So like some surface pattern design kind of things. That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So if folks aren't familiar, gouache is a sidestep to watercolor and kind of a mix of acrylic?
Yeah. So gouache, the way I try to describe it is it's kind of a marriage between acrylic paint and watercolor.
Yep.
So the thing about it that I like is that with watercolor, you can't do light over dark.
Right.
But with gouache, it's a lot more freedom. You can, I feel like I do better with it because I feel like I can make more mistakes that you can cover up easier. Really, that's why probably. But I just like the look of it. And I think it's fun to play with.
So you know how some people say that, crafting and then buying craft supplies are two separate hobbies.
Yeah.
Like there's the hobby of sitting down and being crafty, and then there's a hobby of buying all the things.
Right.
Do you fall in either of those camps? And if so, what currently is on your work table?
Well, I used to definitely fall into those. I mean, I would collect all the things. I remember getting rid of all the candle making stuff I had and all. But right now in my closet that I put aside for a while is punch needle. I
love punch needle.
That's some good therapy right there.
Oh, I love it.
A couple of pillows and so some fun stuff with that. So I may get back to that one day.
I love it. I love it so much. I love too that it's like so forgiving and, fun.
Yeah.
And in the comments here, I'm wondering if our crafty friends who are on the call with us today are like Christie and I, like one hobby to collect and buy the things and another hobby to use the things. And if so, what are those things? So for Christie, it's been punch needle. I love punch needle. I don't do it nearly as much as I kind of dream about doing it. Another one for me is I had a big polymer clay phase where I got all excited about making my own beads and making, lots of different kinds of earrings and things like that. And of course I have all the supplies, and it's one that I definitely need to get back to. I'm not nearly as good as my friend Michelle, but in art and craft, I think it's really important that we don't compare ourselves to others. And I think that you say that so well when you talk about letting go of perfection.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a little idea for our listeners to try, like a lettering or a doodling thing that they might get started on?
Well, I think I would suggest maybe searching through Pinterest or getting on my feed and looking through some things and just trying to mimic that in your own style. And like our class this week, for those who can see on camera, I'll show you what we did this week. But choose a scripture if you're into that, or something that's encouraging, some kind of a positive quote.
A phrase or a mantra.
Yeah, and start by just writing it out, just normal.
Okay.
Yeah. And then maybe play with some different tools like a brush pen and use that heavy, downstroke and light upstroke to play.
So, Christy, would that be like a Tombow or like, do you have another one you recommend?
My favorite is a Pentel brush pen, but Tombow has brush pens. They're just thicker. They're harder to me for a beginner to learn with.
Okay, so Pentel would be your recommendation.
Pentel's my favorite, right? Okay. Yeah. And I also love to mix my lettering. And so I'll make, say if the Lord is my shepherd is what we did. Okay. So I might do all caps, and Lord, I might do script. And then I might change it up to tall and skinny is, and and then shepherd may be script. So play with the different fonts or not necessarily fonts, but your styles of lettering.
It almost is, right? Like it's almost like a personal font.
Yeah. So let me show you what we did this week. So this is
so cool.
Yeah. So this is the Lord my shepherd that we did in my membership this week. And I taught them the lettering, and see how the lettering looks. If you're listening, the lettering looks almost like it's bleeding, like the ink is bleeding. And so it's just a technique that I showed them, that every time when you make a stroke and you have like a straight edge, you want to make it curved. So it's kind of hard to explain that on here, but like you see on the L inside there, I curved it. So it made it thicker, and it just gives it a little extra personality. And then the other thing you could do when you're playing is that when you make your loops, I make a lot of loops.
Yeah.
You can color in your loops. This week, I kind of tried to make look like stained glass, and that was just an afterthought. I had looked at it and I was like, y'all, I think I need more color or something. And so I added color in the loops, different colors to make it look like stained glass. And I also teach it on the iPad as well. So here's the version on the iPad version that I printed out. So you can see.
That was so cool. I love that so much. If you're listening, it's cool. It's just very scripty and swoopy. And here in the comments too, Christina is saying that she likes the way that the color is, it emphasizes certain words, and how the stained glass effect of putting a different color in different swoops.
Thank you.
So a thumbs up from Christina on that one. So the iPad versus the piece of paper. Yes. Thoughts there?
Okay. For me, if I had to choose one at this point in my life, and we're all at different phases and stages in our lives, I would pick the iPad forever because I don't want a mess. I don't want all the art stuff. I don't want all the things. I mean, if you look at my desk right now, you'd be like, whoa, you need to clean up your desk, because I've got markers everywhere, paint.
Right.
But I can go in my living room and I can shut this off, and I can take my iPad and I can create beautiful art.
You can grab it
on my couch, and I can take it anywhere. So that's my love. And and it's neat on the iPad, even though it's a different look. I love the look. It's a real clean look, but you can do watercolor on there. You can do acrylic painting on there. You can do hand lettering on the iPad as well.
Right. So so Lori's asking this too about, iPad and Procreate. Do you think that Procreate is easy to learn? Is it intuitive? Do I need to take a class in Procreate so that I know what I'm doing to letter?
Yeah, to be honest, for someone who hasn't done any kind of artwork on a device, I would definitely recommend. I have a Procreate 101 course because there's tricks, and if you teach yourself, which I did teach myself, and that's why I know I would help you with shortcuts. I would help you.
And you have a Procreate class?
Oh, I have a course. Yeah, it's a course.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Tell us all about that. What's that now?
Okay, so the Procreate course breaks it down and makes it simple for you. So when you open up your iPad and you have this blank screen, you're not like, okay, what do I do next? Like layers. If people don't use layers, you get into all kinds of trouble. Layers are your best friend. And that's the first thing that people don't know to do, and then there's a color wheel. So like my course is broken down into layers, and then there's a color wheel section. And then there's a section, for other kind of techniques. You'll learn shadowing, blending, and all kinds of fun stuff.
Well, I will make sure that we link back in the show notes to where folks can find more information on that course, because you have a fan here in the comments. Lori is saying that she's mostly self-taught on Procreate, but she's learned so much from Christie. So there's a cute little or fabulous testimony to your Procreate and your ability to teach these kinds of things. And I do love what you said about the grab and go of lettering and doodling on your iPad, because sometimes I always have a go bag ready. I mean, I won't be in the car. I won't be anywhere without some kind of crafty bag. And sometimes I grab all this stuff, but in the car or waiting in line, it's just not easy to get it all out. And it's just kind of this mess. And because it's hard to get out, I don't get it out. Versus my iPad, I would totally get that out. One iPen, right? Is that what they're called? One iPen. One pad, you're ready to go. So can you help those of us can you help us connect how you get your lettering out of your digital space and into a sketchbook or something that you can see and hold? Printing.
Yeah. So you can print right there from the app. I've got stuff like all over that I can show you that I take that artwork and do. Okay. So here is a little tin, and this is my artwork that I created on the iPad, or you could create it on paper, either way. And then inside are magnets that I created on the iPad, punched a hole and then put it on there. So there's an example.
They're super cute. They're super cute. Just like a little happy little mint box.
Yeah, right. These are the things I teach in my membership, because I want people not only to create the art, but I want them to do stuff with it, like share it. So here's some just magnets. These are magnets that go like on the refrigerator. It's just magnet paper that you can, print off. Use your printer. So my printer is one of my best friends. I use that all the time.
What are your recommendations in printer type?
You know what? I'm not picky.
Nice.
I know that sounds crazy.
No, I think that sounds great. That's liberating.
I don't have a special printer. It's an okay printer. It's probably $150 printer. It's not fancy.
So
and
I do that inkjet then.
Inkjet. And I do the HP printing where they send me whenever I need ink, they send it to me. I pay by the sheet. It's so much easier than trying to keep ink refills and everything. To me, I save a lot of money by doing that.
Nice. Good rec.
Yeah. So, and the things that I do, I try to make it to where the people I'm teaching, they can also do that. Like if I have these fancy things that they can't afford or do. So I try to teach on like a level where I can teach you how to hand letter with Crayola markers. You don't have to have all the fancy things.
So to recap though, you have a membership, you have books.
Yes.
You have courses.
I do.
And you have a weekly demo.
Devos and Doodles, I do.
Doodles.
Yeah, every week. I'd love for anyone to join me on my Create with Christie Facebook page. I do a little devotional and then little tips on how to hand letter something.
I love that. And what is that community like? How many folks are usually there joining you?
Well, I have about 50 or 60 committed people that love coming, and we all talk about how it makes our week. It's a Monday. I mean,
right.
We're starting off Monday. Great. This is the first thing that I do every Monday, and I look so forward to it. And I love the accountability. I had to do that for myself because, I was like, I'm not going to be consistent if I don't show up. I've got to show up and be that. And so I've done it for about, I think 4 years, maybe not that long, 3 or 4 years.
Well, and I guess too, that's even why I love this podcast and this platform. We do it live, we stream it live. And that's because if I had one more thing I needed to edit, one more thing I needed to kind of make perfect before it goes out in the world, it just would take too much time. Absolutely. And so that's why I've chosen this venue of being live, and you get to see barking dogs and people getting up to get a glass of water. Like it's real life. And so I can totally appreciate that kind of accountability because it gets done. Yeah. So that speaks to me. So do you have something that you're working on right now? Like a project that's just for you?
It's just for me.
Like what you working on in the crafty, artsy fartsy space?
The one thing was just the last thing that I really worked on was the wallpaper and and the fabric. Just designing, making marks, that's my goal right now. Is I just want to make marks on paper, and I don't want to have like an end result.
Sure.
I want to feel it. I want to enjoy the process of it and just kind of meditate on it.
Right.
That's
Right.
my goal right now. So I don't have like a finished like goal of a project.
Well, and right now, I've got, of course, a couple of things on my work table. I have been working on my money roll project for, oh gosh, months and months, because my money roll project, for those of you who have been joining me, thank you for keeping me company. I've been doing that on TikTok Live. It's a very large piece of art. It is a 42 by 42 square.
Wow.
And I've been cutting off the tops of gold edged paper. So I've either dug them out of the garbage, they've been given to me, or I've been saving, and just the tops between 1 inch and 4 inches. And then I'm coiling them into coils where all you really see from the vantage point of the front would be the gold. And then all of those gold money rolls are going into this large 42 square frame. So it's a texture piece. And I have been working on it for so long, one, making the coils, and now I'm in the assembly. And it's one of those things where I'm trying to appreciate process over product, because I'm getting to spend time with people while I'm working on it, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
But my whole, like, my artist statement on this piece was, I first designed a rainbow, and my vision was it would be this gold, this rainbow just made of gold. And in between each one of the colors of the rainbow would be a double wall stack of cardboard. So brown cardboard in between all of the gold. That was my vision. And so I kind of, and my vision was attached to this metaphor. So some of us, and I have been doing this for a while, I keep thinking that I'm about to arrive, that I'm about to find this gold at the end of some imaginary rainbow. And what I'm discovering and what I know to be true is that I'm in the stinking rainbow. I'm in it. I'm in it right now. The gold isn't at the end, the gold is now. And so that was my artist statement, is this, we're always chasing what's at the end. But there really isn't a chase if you just appreciate and acknowledge and see what you're currently in.
I always say enjoy the process.
Right, that's the good stuff.
That's right.
So I laid it out in this rainbow, and I decided that it wasn't edgy enough for me. It was a little too cute, and a little too contrived for 42 square. I mean, it's humongous. So I made a pivot, and I decided to fill the entire surface with my money roll coils. So that's what's on my work table. It's going to be there for a while. We are on an art tour the end of April here at Big Raven Farm, where people will have a chance to walk through our property and see all of my art. This is our second year on the tour. And so I'm excited to have it done by then, but we are going to be doing a little game on how much does this stinking thing weigh, because it is so heavy. I think our 2 adult sons are going to need to help us get it hung on the wall. It's ridiculous.
Are you working on this on TikTok Lives?
Yep.
Oh.
I'm working on TikTok Lives, and one of my followers had this great idea. They were watching me put this thing together, and they were like, why don't you write our names in the coils and then put that in? And Christy, I could have cried. I was so like, what a lovely idea. And I was so touched.
Absolutely.
And so I did that on a whole bunch of them. So a bunch of my friends and followers have their names, stuck in this ginormous piece of artwork.
That's special.
I know. I love those guys. I love them so much. And Christy and I were talking before we turned on the live about, some of the rumblings about, will TikTok be banned and what's going to happen there. And I just want to say that I love TikTok and I love my people there. And I sure hope we don't lose it.
I agree.
Yeah, it means the world to me. So I hope that it gets to stick around with whatever modifications they think they need. So, so Christy, you have been so kind as to put together a discount code for our listeners. So can you tell them a little bit about that and how they can use it?
Sure. So I have my website it's actually craftwithchristie.com, and my business name is Create with Christie. I had to let it go. I know
It's
that's
okay.
I know that's confusing, but that I didn't. The domain was gone. So craftwithchristie.com is my website, and
And I
Christie.
will put that in the show notes. I will
Okay,
connect them all in an easy to
okay.
find place. Yes.
And so, and my name is spelled like Christie Brinkley. Does anybody remember the model, Christie Brinkley?
She
She
just
was,
turned 70.
oh my gosh, she looks still
Mhm.
looks amazing.
Yeah, like last week or something.
Yeah, yeah. So, but, and then also I have an Etsy shop. In my Etsy shop, I have like digital downloads. So if you want to learn more about lettering, great. You can get my lettering books. And I'm offering 10% on any of the products in there, even the digital downloads. A lot of people like to buy my scripture cards because they're inspirational and they can put them up around their house or give them as gifts. And those are also in my Etsy shop. But TikTok, just like TikTok, right? That's how you spell
Yep.
TikTok.
Yep. Yep.
That is the code that you put in on either my website or Etsy, and you will get 10% off. And I would
Oh,
love to share that with.
that is so kind and generous. And I, again, will make sure that we connect that in all kinds of places so that people can take you up on that. What I've got going on at Big Raven Farm, all of our retreats for 2024 are posted. And we've got one starting tomorrow. We're so excited. It's our first cooking retreat. And the chef has been very busy getting that organized. So if you missed this cooking retreat, there's another one in November.
That
And
looks so interesting.
oh my gosh. And so
Is
my
this your
husband,
husband?
yes,
Okay.
he is an engineer, but he's also a chef. So if you can imagine someone making your meals with the precision of a mechanical and software engineer, our food is amazing because he's very precise and he treats it like an art and a science. So the people that are headed to Big Raven Farm this weekend are in for a real treat. He's got such amazing things planned, all the way from sticky rice to we're going to be making a pho. It's just exciting.
Oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
And then on the artsy fartsy side of life, coming up is our Art for Self-Care retreat in April. And this one is one of my favorite retreats because we work on individual projects, not so much large decor projects for your home, but more individual making and creating, like intentional stitching. We're going to be doing some eco dyeing, cyanotype printing, fabric collage, watercolor collage. We're going to be making journals and just so many lovely things in store. And of course, there's always yoga throughout the weekend and Darren's amazing food. So if you are interested in coming to a retreat at Big Raven Farm, they are all listed on our retreats page, and there are 17, I believe, to choose from. So, and they do sell out. So right now it might look like there's a whole lot to choose from, but they do sell out, and we are so grateful for that. So
I can just say, for people who have never been on a retreat like this, it's just life-changing. You come back a new person, you feel so full. Your cup is so full.
it's the
It's the best. And people, sometimes the price gets in the way of when they start looking.
Mhm.
But I promise you, it is so well worth it. You've got your price very, very, very fairly.
We are
Very,
reasonable. That's
very,
right.
yes, very reasonable.
Well, and because we don't live in a major metropolitan city, so there is a little bit of effort at getting here. Our closest airport is Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then we're 2.5 hours south of there. I'm also really close to Chicago, Rochester, Minnesota, Decorah, Iowa, La Crosse, Wisconsin. So I'm right down in the corner where those three states meet, and I am so grateful that people come from all over the country to spend time with us. So it some days I'm just like, I can't believe this is my job. I'm
Right.
so lucky and so blessed. I just am so, so grateful. So, but I will link all of that in the show notes. And of course, if you are interested in joining my craft club is a subscription base where they get one project a month. And then we make the projects together live on StreamYard here. And it's kind of awesome. And my craft club, they're just the best. So a big shout out to them.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, sure.
When you say on StreamYard, are they on the video with you? The video
Yeah.
call? Oh, how many people can do that? Like,
So in my version of StreamYard, I think I can have up to 200 or something.
wow.
And there are 93 members of my club, but we have kind of a core group that always shows up. If we get to 20, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But what's so great is a lot of those folks have become really good friends.
Mhm.
And I have TikTok to thank for, bringing our worlds together. And another reason why I really hope that it is protected and stays right where it is, because
Yeah.
I will miss it if I lose it.
I think it's really neat to be able to make those connections right there online together, like just to get to see each other, and
Mhm.
that's fun. It's a whole
Well,
other level.
Well, and don't you find, Christy, that my online friends are real friends? I don't
Yeah.
need to ever justify or say, oh, those are my TikTok friends. I just say, those are my friends, and they are in my pocket. They're there for me. I look forward, they're a dopamine hit. I love
Yeah.
them. I love being with them so much.
Yeah. You're in the right field. For sure.
Hmm. For sure. You must feel that way about your membership
Oh,
group
I do.
and
They're my
your,
family. Yeah, not just friends, but family too. I
oh,
really do feel
yeah.
that. Mhm.
And it's Devos and Demos. Did I get that right?
Devos and Doodles.
Devos and Doodles. Okay.
Close. Well, you got my name right.
I did. I did practice. Well, now we're at, if you would believe it, we're almost, over halfway done. And we do have this segment in the Happy Time Craftcast where I ask all of our guests these same 10 questions. And so you can elaborate if you want to, or you can just give one word answers, but this
I'm
is where we
nervous.
start. Here we go. All right. So, Christy, what is your favorite word?
Shine.
Look at you. You're just like, boom.
My word of the year. It's been my word of the year for the last so many years.
I feel like I've seen you do a doodle of that as
Yeah,
well, or some art with that word.
I
Am I
do. I
right?
do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it comes from Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine before men so they can see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
Wow. That's a good word. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it. What's your least favorite word?
I'm not one to, I don't love ugly language.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess the F word. That'd be my least favorite word, probably.
Okay. So you don't like ugly. I like it defined as that but my brain went somewhere else. I kind of went to
Moist.
bodily stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
like boogars and whatnot. Like I went a little gross, gross, gross. So, okay. So what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? Like what makes you shine or lights that fire?
You know what? Being able to share my love of creativity with others, it just gets me so excited because I love to see them succeed and trying new things and seeing that they can do that as well.
Mhm. And how, if you could expand on that a little bit, like what does it do for you when you see it?
Hmm. I feel like a proud mama when I see
Yeah.
their work. Like I really do, because I taught school too, and I know that feeling of, oh, they did listen, they are paying attention. It is important to them.
Right. Right. There it sounds like there's a little mama bear in there,
Yeah.
in the pride and the joy. And I'm lucky that I have people send me videos and images when they try my artwork. And sometimes they even ask if they can try it. And I'm like, absolutely, you can totally try it. I don't own the market on these kinds of book folds or using book paper in this way. And I feel my cup is full
Exactly.
when those things happen. And I love it so much. So the opposite of that, then, what kind of turns you off and what don't you care for?
Negativity, like I don't know, if I find myself in a situation where it's got negative vibes or whatever, I'm
You're
out. I'm out.
mhm, mhm, mhm. And can you identify that pretty quickly? Like, is it a feeling?
I think so. I think I can feel it. I give people a chance or a situation a chance, but I think pretty soon.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. I sometimes think that negativity, I'm not always so much in it, but it might be coming from me. Um, either in my thoughts
Yeah.
or my anxiety and my worries.
Yes, and I don't like that about me. So that turns me
Right.
off when I am that
Exactly.
person. Absolutely.
Exactly. In fact, today I had an appointment this morning and I saw this quote. I'm going to kind of mangle it, but basically it said, you are here on this one day, these 24 hours, these like 1400 minutes. This day is so precious because there's never going to be another one.
Yeah.
It's one per customer, and you have the opportunity to choose your mood, your reaction, your state of being. And so I hope you make good choices is basically what this quote was. And it was on the side of a coffee shop. And I was like, that is like one of the smartest things I've ever seen. And I loved it so much. I loved this idea of you only get one per customer. You only get this moment one
I don't
time.
know why that reminds me of my friend. Every time there's like a special date, like 2/22/22, like
Oh, right. Some kind of alliteration. Yeah.
people get so excited about that. And I remember telling her, I'm so excited. We're going to do something on 2/22/22. And she said, so why is that special? There's not going to be a 2/22/23 either,
Right.
Take every moment captive, basically.
Right. So you should have that same kind of reaction for all of the days, right?
That's
I get it. Well, in our next question then, since you don't really like ugly language, I appreciate that. So what words do you use then in frustration?
Instead of a curse word?
Yeah. Like, do you have one that's like instead of
Oh, I don't know. What do I do?
like, do you have an exasperation word? Like, I make words up a lot.
Yeah.
Like last night I was on a live and because the money rolls are heavy, I can't keep my glue gun on low. I have to have it on hot. And I was pushing a piece into place and the hot glue came up from the middle and just removed the skin from my fingers. And I said, shaladaba.
Oh, that's good. I like that one.
Right?
I think mine's probably crap, which I could get more creative. I think I'll try to work on that.
I always enjoy a good fiddlesticks. Like I kind of smile when I hear that, or I like, especially if my husband says like, dang nabbit.
It's a good one.
I'm just like, that's so cool. You could say those words all day long. Do you have sounds or noises that you love?
Sounds or noises. I think a baby laughing is just, there's nothing quite like that,
I follow on do you follow on those TikTok videos sometimes where it's just a baby laughing?
Yeah.
I know. And the more of them you watch, the more of them you get.
The funnier they get. And they're just so sweet and so cute. Yeah. I love worship music too.
Yeah. It makes me cry a lot.
Yeah.
For sure. It makes me wish that, so I am an empty nester and we have 4 adult children and we're about to hit a milestone this week in that we will, as of Saturday, no longer have teenagers. Charlie will be 20. Wow. And I have very mixed feelings about this. And like, I wish so much I would have had the technology that I have now when they were little. Because I had like the big sits on your shoulder, like camcorder,
right.
That took a full VHS tape. I didn't get those out very often, so I just think about all the technology that we have now to capture, babies laughing and that kind of thing. Yeah. I love it. What about, are there noises or sounds that you do not like?
Yes. I'm jumping on that real quick. Yeah. I
know mine.
I'm not a fan of smacking. My mom always smacked her gum. She would blow little bubbles underneath her. And I was like, give me that gum right now.
Right.
And maybe like my husband eating cereal while I'm trying to watch TV or something. That's annoying. I'm being real specific here. I'm sure that I make noises they don't like to.
Right. I love that though, that you have a specific person and sound. That's awesome. So the birthday boy is a drummer in a heavy metal band. And I've always liked his music. I like it so much. It's never sounded like noise to me. But they do have some singing parts where it's kind of like screaming. It's like blah, 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 like that, and I can't even do it. And I don't really appreciate it. I don't hate it, but I don't appreciate it as much.
A little noise like that will say that I struggle with that.
Yeah,
if I'm driving down the road and someone is like playing that on their car next to me.
Yes,
I'm just like trying to hold it together.
Right, I get a little judgy. Like, how can you think and drive? Like right. I'm showing my like Gen X-edness there, I think. So what about this one, Christie? So other than what profession other than the one that you have would you like to attempt?
Well, I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker.
You could do that.
Aw.
You could totally do that.
Maybe one day. I've always, when I've heard people that inspired me, I was like, I want to give that feeling to others. I want other people to feel that way when they leave me.
Yep. Have you ever taken any of like those personality assessments and it's like you have to circle the words that you like or the words that you appreciate? And I always circle inspirational. Like I
Yeah,
love that word. I want to be that. I love that word so much.
that is one of my top words, I would say, for sure. I want to
Yep.
inspire people. And that's what we do. I feel like that's what we try to do and what we teach.
Right. I sure like to be when I'm thinking about my content, and I'm sure you do this too, I am very deliberate in that it's it's unlike me to ever do anything like I don't do scolding content, I don't do gotcha content, I don't do this made me so mad content. I just want people to leave feeling better than when they arrived.
Yes. Better than that when they arrived. I think I cut you off there. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah, if I can just be that little bit of I feel better now than I did even 90 seconds ago, then I feel pretty happy about that.
That's exactly how I feel.
You and I have a lot in common in that way. I kind of
Yeah.
I knew that we did. So, is there a profession that you would not want to do?
Yes, cleaning houses. That's not my favorite thing.
See, I would like that for like the workout. And I also think I would like it if it wasn't my house, because
It's
when it's
different. Yeah.
right, like you could kind of go through it and like, get your steps in. Like I think I would like that up to a point, right? Until it got gross.
But I guess my house, I would not like the profession of cleaning my own house. It's a
Right.
job.
Right. I wouldn't want to do anything with things that smell bad.
No.
Like I'd have a pretty low tolerance for gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's my final question for you then. Let's say that there's an afterlife, which I think you believe in,
Yes.
heaven.
Yes.
What would you like to hear the welcome party say when you arrive?
You're home. Welcome home. Yeah.
Awesome. You're safe. You've arrived. Those
Right.
two
Yep.
things. I think I would like them to say something like, you did good. Like I don't need a lot. Just
Right.
you did good.
Yeah.
And that's plenty for me.
That's good. I like that.
Awesome. Well, I cannot tell you how pleased and grateful I am that you have been my guest today. I'm going to just quickly jump over to our comments and let you know that we had some additions of favorite non-ugly curse words.
Okay.
Dadgummit
Yes.
has made the list, and then Lori also added that her sound is chewing, an aversion to crunching and chewing sounds.
Yes.
And she's saying that's kind of an actual thing. It's like a
It
real life
is.
disorder.
It is. Yeah. There's people sensitive to sounds that it's a thing. I don't know what it's called.
Did not know
Yeah.
that.
An aversion to sounds. I think my daughter has it. I'm pretty sure.
Wow. It kind of is validating, isn't it? For those of us who can get a little cringy about that. I'm glad to know it. I learned that today. So
I'm not crazy. It is a thing.
right. Well, and before we say our final goodbyes, I'd like to just remind folks that Christie has so generously offered a discount code, and it's TikTok, and it's for 10% off. And you can use it either on her website or on her Etsy store.
Yes, Etsy.
Yep,
Which is
Etsy.
also called Create with Christie.
Okay. And all of those wonderful things will be linked in our show notes. I will make sure it is easy for people to find. And I guess the one last thing I have to say is if you are looking for a little project to work on in my art space, I would encourage you at any time to just give it a try let's try the silo bookfold. As Christie and I today were talking about mindlessly playing or playing mindlessly, whichever way you want to say it. The silo fold is taking one piece of paper in an old discarded book and folding that piece of paper in half. That's it. And you do that for the entirety of the book. If you use a hardcover book, you would be then able to hang it on the wall and it'll look like a silo or a tube, or some people, it looks like a log. If you remove that bookboard cover, it can be a 3-dimensional sculpture, and it'll look like a little, I call them silos because I have them here on my farm. I've hung them from the ceiling. I did a Harry Potter inspired ceiling where I have floating books books instead of floating candles. And when people ask me what is my favorite book fold, I always come back to the silo because, as Christie said, I am mindlessly playing. I am getting lost and I'm enjoying the process. And if you haven't tried book folding, I would say that would be a really good place to start and just see what comes up for you, and see if you can't get into that state that we call the flow or the zone where muscle memory takes over and you have a chance to be at ease and be peaceful. So you'll have to let me know if you give that a try, because if I have more friends book folding with me, well, that would just be kind of a cool and lovely thing. So I want to thank everyone for joining us live today on Jolene's Happy Time Craftcast. I hope you'll join me on our next episode. My guest is Michelle Butler, and she is a polymer clay artist. She makes the most amazing earrings, and she's a really good friend. And I can't wait for you to all interact and hang out with Michelle and I. That will be March 27th, noon Central, where we stream live to YouTube and Facebook, and where you can also find us later on iTunes. Christie, thank you for being so generous with your time today, and for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. You are a shining inspiration, my friend.
I needed this today. Thank you for the encouragement.
You are so, so welcome. And for those of you that have been here, thank you for all your questions and comments. And I promise we will see you next time.